All right, it's day 19 of this Korean radish series. You can see the plant is getting big. These stems are getting very long inflorescences. Not much foliage to speak of still. Just enjoy the flowers for now. I moved these two lamps apart because this plant is getting too big to view. There's just that one lone green carpel with the yellow tip at the end after you see the flowers wither away. And nothing's really shedding so far. The leaves are kind of curly backwards, but that could just be due to over fertilization. Let's see what else is going on. Some of these leaf primordia, little undeveloped leaves at the bottom, at the base, they're kind of yellowed at the tips. That was during the over fertilization phase. And there are still a lot more flowers to come, but for now the growth is still pretty good. And there's a ring of salt around the top of this thing. That stuff in the middle, that could be mold. I tried to keep this topped off as high as possible with hydrogen peroxide solution, but this cup just isn't big enough for me to immerse the entire tuber. I'm going to take this thing out in the sink and run it under the tap and get everything clean. Pour out some of that dissolved nutrient insoluble powder at the bottom, and keep as many pellets as possible. Then fill this back up with hydrogen peroxide. Alright, so I just rinsed everything out and tried to get off as much of the salt as possible. This tuber is just really pitted now. It has that moldy, dirty appearance, but that's kind of aside from this tuber having lost a lot of mass, and soaking it water seems to have rehydrated it a little bit. Granted, the top is probably still shrinking due to the heat and constant light exposure. And that's a little bit of tap water. I rinsed out everything really well. So we'll add some distilled water and hydrogen peroxide again. And I'll add it to the top to try to wash off yet more salt. And hopefully just directly pouring hydrogen peroxide on the top down will help sterilize a little bit. So I'm wondering if this tuber is just gonna get completely cannibalized and die. Well, not die as in the whole plant dying, but maybe we'll just have no tuber mass and just root and shoot system. That's it. But hopefully this cleans everything. Not really knowing what to expect with respect to life cycles. Maybe this is like what one of my viewers said, it's like an onion. Well, they didn't say it about this, but maybe it just has a finite life cycle like some biannual vegetables. Not really sure what the deal is, but we'll see soon enough. Alright, it's day 28 of this Korean radish series. It's been a while since my last update. This is the view from my balcony, and there's a bunch of stuff on the balcony. But anyway, this thing is in dire straits. I'm going to end this series because it seems like after it flowered, everything died. Although there was a midpoint in this series during which I seemed to have over-fertilized, and that led to a yellowing of many of the buds. And that also kind of coincided with the time during which I started submerging everything in water. Now it's just in tap water with hydrogen peroxide. There's this like cloudy silt in it, or precipitants. Tuber looks okay, but I'm thinking I had too many of these Miracle Grow shake and feed pellets. They're not meant to be used in water. They're just meant to be used sparingly, spread out in soil. So I think over fertilization killed this, and also my sunchoke. And once it reaches a point at which you have this over fertilization, I think the plants just kind of get poisoned, and there's no going back from that. And if I focus here in the middle, That's pretty gross. There's been a lot of mold. So that's the other problem in these two series. Too much mold. Which wasn't a problem before I started directly submerging things in water, but you can't really say for sure which was the exact cause. Maybe it's just a combination of bad factors. So it's 5 p.m. Get 2 hours a day of this 50 to 60,000 lux natural sunlight. I'm using aluminum foil to hold this thing up, because if you don't, the tuber just kind of floats and tips over and whatnot. So I'm sorry the series ended this way. I don't know if these things are programmed to die off soon after flowering anyway, but at least we got to see some pretty flowers. So I'm going to end this series, and thanks for watching. People didn't seem to be really into this after the first episode. Maybe they came back for the flowers in the third episode, but I'll look into other projects